What's going on, guys? So today, gonna talk about how to make a swing change. Get it a lot. That's why I coach. A lot of people want to change something about themselves. So gonna cover a couple things that I think are important when it comes to understanding when you went to an instructor or listen to the stuff I have to say on YouTube and try and implement it, what's going on and how your brain's taking that information and using it to try to make and implement those changes. So if you want to learn more about that, make sure you subscribe and like the video. Comment down below with things you want to see. If you got questions about your swing, throw them down there. We'll talk about it. Maybe I'll put a video out about it. So let's get into this one and talk about why your swing changes may or may not be happening. All right, guys. So reason why you're not straight on down the line today is because I'm going to use that camera for my TrackMan. And you may see it on the projection. It's kind of rough on the screen, so we'll look at it actually on the computer and talk about it. But things to understand about swing changes and why you don't see me post before and afters on Instagram a lot, really at all anymore, is because I learned a little nugget way back when, I say that a few years ago, that there's a difference in how we learn, in the sense of you can learn something quickly, but it doesn't mean it's a lasting change, right? So standing there inside the room with your coach, being barked at to do a certain thing, you will do those things because they're forcing you to do it. It's that ability to take it away and do it on your own. So learning is a long process, right? Making a quick change isn't a lasting change, unfortunately, right? So even though you might have gone in and had a lesson, hit it great in that lesson, I'm sure this has been the scenario, go out the next day, can't figure it out, right? A lot of that is because of how the neural connections happen in the body and the brain. That's why we call them habits. So how do we make a habit come to light, right? So feels are tough because they change every day. You wake up, feels different than what it did the day before, feels different the next day. Kind of hard to be consistent in feels. Plus, you take 2 or 3 days off for life and work. Makes it kind of hard to be consistent, right? So I'm going to hit a few shots. I'm going to kind of explain to you what I'm going through, what changes I'm making, and working on in my game, and take it from there. So one of the things that I've been working on here the last couple weeks is I have a pretty big tendency to get lazy with my hinge. Club goes way inside, way across the line, and it tends to get me in a little bit of trouble as I go into the strike. I either exit hard left, pull out, kind of like a spinny cut, throw the club head. It gets kind of squirrely at times, right? So for me, it's not as stable of a swing as I'd like. And so there's things that I'd like to do better. This is obviously, you can see my second swing of the day, but the changes I'm making are all happening in the backswing and how I'm hinging the hands. So let's talk about the feels I'm creating and the thought I have about what I want to do with it, those changes in the backswing to help tighten up my downswing. One of my favorite coaches, John Dunnigan, had a great saying: whoever's doing the work is doing the learning. So if you have a coach that's putting you in places and doing the job that you should be doing, you're not going to learn as well. So a lot of times we use resistant bands. I don't like the swing shirt to keep your arms together because it makes your arms go together. I have you hold a ball between your arms if it's a separating the arms issue. So anyways, so those are some things that I keep in the back of your mind, is whoever's working is learning. So for me, and this takeaway feel thing, I've been working on it for about a week, 2 weeks. And the feel for me, if you want to talk about feels, is like I'm keeping my elbow in front so the club hinges more in front of my body than behind my body. And I'm trying to make it be more vertical, and it feels like my left hand gets on top of the shaft in my swing, right? So I'll spend a lot of time just hinging and making a little half swing shot to get that feel. In my motion, right? But when we watch it on video, to me, that felt like it was straight up and my right elbow was way out in front. But watch what happens. The golf club hinged more through my hands, but my elbow got a little deep for what I want to see on that shot. Rotated to the hit. Decent. Got a little pulley on the path. So we're going to work it again. Now that one felt right. Felt good, felt clean. Path and face were a little left because I didn't really turn in the backswing. I was hyper-focused on my arms. But let's look at the difference. So this was my first attempt at the move I'm trying to make. I had one more rep in there off camera and then another rep. So we look at hinge through hands was pretty good. This one I actually got the club a little bit outside my hands, but my elbow structure looks a little different here as well. And this is more the elbow structure I like to see for my swing, where my elbow is sitting more in front of the seam of my shirt, not behind the seam of my shirt. That's when I start to get in trouble. So obviously you see I went a little farther in the swing on the left as well. And now you can see when the club's parallel to the ground, arm structure looks a lot different going into the hit. A lot more room, a little more space of the lead arm to the right arm. Elbows a little bit more in front. So let's see if we can build up this swing a little bit more from a half swing. So I might make a few more reps of the half to keep that feel alive. So one of the reasons why we're talking about these swing changes, you know, this is me, but for you, I'm focusing on the part that is the most important. The way I like to think about it is, if you were Tommy Lee and you were the drummer, you're not going to practice a whole song to get good at your solo. You're going to practice solos. And then when the song gets to the point that your solo is supposed to be played, you've practiced it, you're ready to go, and you drop it in, and then continue the song. So for me, the way I start my backswing really kind of sets the precedent for the rest of it, where the rest of my swing goes, and I don't have to really focus on a lot of downswing stuff if I do the backswing stuff well. So for me, I'm just spending a lot of time hitting these little half shots to ingrain the feeling I want to when I go to a full swing. Now, one of the things I don't like is I don't need my club head outside my hands. That's why my path got more left than it needed to be. But I did like the position of my elbow staying more in front as I hinged the club. So now I got to find that blend of elbow in front, club head in the right place. And so that's a shot I like when I'm hitting these little punch shots. We watch these differences, we'll see very little hinge, club's way behind the hands and the face is shut. Starting to activate the hands better, club head's getting above the hands, more open, elbow in a way better position for what I need to be doing given my grip. Elbow's too far back in this scenario. So now the golf club's really flat. This golf club's hinging more vertically in nature. And so you can see when things get left arm parallel on the left and left arm parallel on the right, the golf club's at a very different angle in the hinge. Cross the line and pretty shut. Way more on plane right here, face more square. Watch the club come down. Left arm parallel. Now this is a little bit of apples and oranges because you got a full swing versus a pit or a punch swing. You can see the golf club's at a different angle. I actually kind of like it being a little steeper here than being kind of flat there. And the elbows are really far apart versus the elbows being a little bit tighter. The golf club kind of drops under my elbow a lot on the one on the right versus the one on the left kind of stays more in line where I want things to fall into place as I go into the strike, which is why the face is a little more stable at the hit and exits better on the follow through. So keep in mind, you know, I don't work on my game every day. I should, but I don't. I work on my game probably a few days a week right now when I have the chance. And I've been doing this for about 2 weeks, and I'm still having to like inspect every golf swing in order to see where those hinges are and then start ingraining feels, because some of the ones that felt right out of the gate were wrong. So I'll see a lot of people practicing on the driving range out there in front of me, and it's just drop ball down, maybe put a stick down or whatever, and just start swinging away in hopes that swinging at full speed, they're going to learn the change, and that's just not what's going to happen. And believe me, I'm the last person to tell you to slow down to hit golf balls. I don't believe in that stuff. The size swings I'm making are short, but I'm very aggressive still. Like, I'm not trying to slow my swing down. I'm just shortening my swing to ensure the hinge and the fold of my arms the way I want it to be. So that when I start building a full swing, I'm used to doing it at max load into the club. And that's where learning starts to take place. But again, just keep in mind, I've played golf my whole life. Not saying I'm any good at it, but I have a long history of playing the game, and when I'm trying to make a change, I'm 2 weeks in and I still haven't mastered this feel yet. So think about how much effort and time and precision it's going to take to make changes, and keep that in mind in your swing as you go through swing changes, that it's not going to be overnight, and sometimes you really got to slow things down and get granular for a little bit, put things in the right places. That's why we do freezer drills, where we pause a lot of times and make the changes that are necessary. And they may not be comfortable, they may not be fun, but at the same time, you're able to do what you're asking of your body, or asking of your the coach is asking of you, and then you can start building it into bigger swings once you kind of understand what that feel, what that look should be. So I know for me, my elbow needs to stay more in front of my body, but I can't let the club hinge out or I'll start hitting fades more than I want. So it has to be a hinge with the elbow in front. Feels like my left hand kind of dominates, but this hand doesn't slip behind. I have no idea where I went because I forgot the compare feature. So my face to path is pretty good there, only being 0.4 off. I like that. Ball flight was pretty straight, baby draw. 62 carry, but it's a punchy kind of swing. So now what I'll do is I'll take that hinge, make sure I own that start of my swing like we were talking about. Elbow in front, hinging in the right angle, feeling like the left hand's covering the shaft going back. Build it to a full swing now and see if I can keep that look at a full swing effort. Not bad, 1 rep. That's all I needed. Let's look at it. So we watch the differences in the swings. By the time the club's parallel to the ground, very different looks where the elbow is and the club head's at. Very different look by left arm parallel as far as shaft planes and location of where the golf club's at. Top positions obviously get drastically different. And then as the club starts to come back to the ball, you got left arm parallels. You can already see the shafts a little bit higher on the left. We'll bring the club head back 1 frame here on the right. You can see now arms are a little bit tighter here. This elbow's out a little bit farther, more than I want. Exits very different through the shoulders. So like I said, changes take time. Learning takes time. There's no such thing as a quick change. That's a lasting change. Lasting changes have to be worked through a lot. I've spent 2 weeks on this and I haven't yet started a session by doing it correctly yet. When I can make my first moves do exactly what I want to do, and it's not like this almost right, elbows off, or club heads off, elbows right, changes in conditions, that's when I know I'm doing it right, is when I can just pick up the club, put it in the right place, and I don't have to worry about that feel anymore, because that's where I need it to be. I don't have to keep exaggerating feels or anything like that. So Remember that changes take time. Don't be afraid to work through them, and give yourself, self-compassion to work through those changes and not get frustrated, because you're going to fail a lot, but it's your brain's ability to dissect that small little part you're trying to change, and you might have to be hyper focused on that for a few swings and then see what happens when you get to a full swing and see if you can replicate it. Always a big fan of you being the person putting the forces and the torques on so that you can learn. If something's doing that for you, you're not going to learn as fast. So I hope you enjoy the video. See you guys soon.